you going into this, Johnny Sins being blue pilled. Okay, I saw the interview that he did with Logan Paul, where he had Kissa Sins on there, and they talked about how they met, how they got together, and then later on, she started filming individually. Can you go into that, the video that you made?
Yeah, so that was an interesting experience for me. So that was one of the first things I saw when I got into the industry when I moved to LA. Right, I mean, I'm in LA for the first week, and I go to like an industry party of some kind. I was aware of, you know, Johnny Sins and Kissa Sins were in a relationship, and at the time, I believe Johnny was like living in Hawaii or something. This is like 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. But at this party, and through the front door, in walks Kissa Sins on the arm of Marcus Dupree, who at the time was the reigning male performer of the year. Like, he's the top dog. And she's walking on his arm, and obviously they're in a romantic way. And I'm thinking, that's a bit rough for Johnny. Like, I thought these two were in a relationship. What the hell's going on here? And you look into like Johnny and Kissa Sins' kind of backstory. So she was a fan of his.
Yeah.
He was like, he's like one of the most popular male performers amongst all the female talent. They all want to work with Johnny Sins.
Yeah.
Like, super lovely guy from all accounts, right? And I've got nothing against the guy. I'm not trying to shit on him or anything. It's just an interesting.
Actually, we're in favor of him. That's the point.
Yeah.
Like, this is something that could have been avoided.
Yeah.
Like, you have the money and the clout and the pre-selection to create the life of your dreams, but you didn't. You kind of let it slip out of your hands.
He had it. That's the thing. He had it with Kissa, right? So she was a fan of his. She slid into his Instagram DMs or something. They ended up, hooking up together. He moved out to Hawaii with her, and they ended up running, I think it was a pay site called Sins Life. I don't know if it's still around. At the time it was going. And what they would do, they would fly out like 2-3 female performers from LA to Hawaii at a time and just have these like crazy sex. And that was the entire website. It was just him POV with his big old schlong out there, 4 or 5 girls.
Yeah.
Hammering away on it. I'm like, dude, you've got the life. You've won the game. Like, you keep doing what you're doing. You've got it made. And then all of a sudden, like, after maybe like a year of this, she starts shooting like boy girl, like in mainstream in LA.
If you guys want to go back and watch the interview, the expression on Johnny's when she gets to the point where she's like, now I want to film with mainstream talent. Johnny's like shoulder slump, and he like, again, this is the dude who could have had anything he wanted, and then she goes off and does that. Like, here's the thing, the point that you said before, he legitimately looked like he was in love with her.
Yeah,
and there's so many other ways that this could have. Anyway, keep going.
I think a large part of that was probably because they're flying out all these industry girls. They're probably like whispering in her, having a piece in her ear saying, "Oh, Kissa, you'd be amazing. You should go out to LA and shoot. You should go out to LA and shoot." And she's probably having like a good half a dozen to a dozen girls saying this to her.
You can shoot, you can make money on OF. There are probably some girls that were escorts who were like, hey, you can meet my client. Yeah. That kind of stuff too that was happening that got her to say, hey, I should have agency too. She said she was crying every day. He would go to work and shoot with like 30 different girls a month. And then eventually she did it, and he at first didn't have a problem with it, and then later on was like very upset by the whole thing. Yeah. And he says he wishes that he had not let her go off and start filming like this.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so if he's the man in her life, his influence over her should have been stronger than these, random women that they're bringing out to Hawaii.
Her words. I need one dude and several women to have sex with. She was actually fine with the arrangement before women come at me and be like, well, women, why can't she fuck a bunch of dudes? She was totally fine in the arrangement that was going on. Then these women came to her and told her that she should film with other dudes.
Yeah, and the thing is, and it's like, okay, so she was like, he'd go to set and shoot, and she would be sad, right?
Yeah, she'd be sad.
Okay, well, that for a start, I'm not going to say that's a bad thing. That proves that she's in love with the man for a start, right? Then she goes and shoots with like random industry dudes, and what happens? The relationship ends. So it was better before, unequivocally. It was better.
Or I'll give you another example. It would have been better if you want to go film with industry dudes. God bless you. We don't need to be in a relationship anymore.
Yeah.
Either one of those things would have been fine. But this is the point, and if Rollo was here, we'll talk about this tomorrow night. Poly does not work for men.
Yeah.
This is a guy who's a male, who's agreeing with me here. Poly does not work for men. Women, Kissa Sins, unless you have a morbidly obese woman and like Justin Timberlake, then you're even. Women have so many more options as far as men that they can go be with. Average looking women sleep with celebrities all the time. They have so many more options. And I know this because whenever I go to hedonism in Jamaica and there's these couples that are swinging, the women are just like, there's 7 penises ready for all of them. And the dudes are like lucky to get a makeout. They're all standing, holding their dicks like next to a fucking pizza place, just kind of like waiting for their drink to come while their wives are getting railed by 6 Jamaicans. And I'm just like looking at this and it is so inequitable. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So poly does not work for men. Poly works for women. Polygyny, now here's the thing. People can say, well, polygyny works for men. No, polygyny works for both.
Yeah.
Listen to me one more time. Polygyny works for both. Because one of the problems is women are like, no, you get to have sex with other women and she only gets to have sex with you. No. We get to have sex with other women.
Bingo.
That's polygyny. What you're referring to is these women out here who are watching this and they're like, no, I dated this male stripper and then he cheated on me. That's cheating. That's not polygyny. That's cheating. What you got with a polygynous man is a man who is honest with you. When men cheat, it is not because they want to end the relationship. When women cheat, it is because they want to end the relationship.
We cheat for different reasons. Like men will cheat purely for variety.
Which goes back to the Kissa sins thing.
Yeah.
That when Kissa sins was with other dudes, and this is going to sound like such a double standard, because it is a double standard. You can't bench press 300 pounds, ladies. I'm sorry, there is a double standard. When Kissa Sin sleeps with every time Kissa Sin sleeps with another dude, it is way more deleterious to the relationship. Yeah. Exponentially more deleterious to the relationship than when Johnny Sins is like going to work. Because for Johnny Sins, he is legitimately just going to work. For her, every time there's these emotions that go along, and oxytocin and dopamine, all these other things, whereas Johnny Sins, it is simply just a physiological reaction below his belly button, and there's nothing else going on.
I had this interesting perspective from a Muslim girl when I was there in Dubai last time. And she said, so she's only been in 2 relationships. She's like 30 years old. She's only been in 2 relationships her whole life, right? And she said, she had a really interesting perspective on women cheating. She said, why would I go and sleep with another man and risk diminishing the love that I have for my man?
Yeah.
Because if I sleep with another dude, she was saying, if I sleep with this other guy, I'm gonna have something else to compare against my man.
For sure.
And it's gonna either be better or worse. But either way, it's putting him now in some kind of spectrum or scale to compare with, which I thought was really, really interesting. Like this idea, because women, like I said before, dudes cheat for variety, women cheat to upgrade.
Yeah.
It's plain and simple. But it's a comparison game. It's like, oh, this guy is slightly better than this dude, so I'm going to go over this guy.
Yeah, men rearrange the roster and women look for a new coach.
I like that. I like that analogy.
Yeah, no, it's very, and I empathize with women not grasping this because I know my psychology is very different from yours because evolution made us different. I get that. I totally understand. But I do find that what happens eventually with almost every woman I talk to is there's a point in there after a big breakup, after women get red pilled too, right? The horrible divorce, the guy was supposed to be Prince Charming, turned out he was lying, turned out the boy who told you the truth was the only guy telling you the truth in your whole life. They go back and they have this red pill moment for women, and then they come back and they're like, oh, yeah, I would have been fine with that the whole time. You mean if he just told me he was going to see other women and he kept coming back to me and just never disrespected me in any way whatsoever? And then other women are like, this is very common. Was Andrews talked about the Russian oligarchs? No one expects them to be single. Everyone knows that they have girlfriends on the side.
Yeah.
The mafia of the United States, what was it? Friday nights was for the Gumars. I don't like that. I don't want to lie. I want us to do it together. I want to be Stockton and Malone, bro. I want to run the pick and roll with my girlfriend. I want to run the pick and roll. I want to get to the basket together. I don't want to fucking lie. And then I hear these other guys are like, no, you can't tell the girl because you're trying to explain a logical concept to someone who's not being logical. And there's some truth in that. That's hard, man. And then I meat some girls that are just all about it, just completely and totally about it. They don't want anything else. So it's really interesting when I see that whole situation, this idea, because I thought it was an interesting concept with you where you explain something that I had experienced personally, which was the idea was when I was with another woman, I wanted my girl more.
That's kind of like an eye-opening experience too, as a guy, when you're with a girl, you truly love her, and then you step out, you have an experience with another chick on the side, and you just come back and you're reminded of all the reasons that you do love her in the first place. That situation for a woman is completely different. She's going to come back. She's going to step out, sleep with another dude. She's going to come back and rationalize all the reasons why you're.
Thank you. Yes.
The backwards rationalization is going the opposite direction.
And it comes off as like a double standard. And it is. Like, this didn't just happen. When you also have this conversation about, is this cultural? Ishmael the Bloodthirsty had 800 children. King Solomon had 800 wives or something like that. Well, something like 1/2% of all the males on this planet have the same Y chromosome as Genghis Khan. What do you think that happened? Do you think it's because he was a virgin? Like, it's ridiculous. Like, this didn't just start happening.